Hey, what's going on, guys and girls? Andy Pratt here with milkandcookiesTW.
And this is 50 Bomb.
And we played a couple of 2v2s the other night, and this one was going to be Seleucids and Athens versus Armenia and Pontus. Going into the battle, we knew right away that our opponents were going to be bringing a lot of cavalry. So, one way to counter a lot of cavalry is a lot of spears and a lot of skirmishing power. So, pretty much every time I bring Pontus, I'm always going to be bringing like maybe 2 Pontic Royal Cavalry and then like 3 Noble Blood Cav or 4 Noble Blood Cav. And that's actually, I guess, that pretty perfectly. I think he brings about 6 cav units. And then, of course, Armenia is going to be bringing a cataphract build. So, again, one way to counter that is bring a lot of hoplites, not bring a lot of cavalry because you're probably not going to win a cav fight versus them, and bring skirmishers so that when you tie down their enemy cavalry, you can shoot them to death. That was my strategy here. I have 4 Persian hoplites, low-tier spears, but they last for a while now. 3 shield bearers, and then 4 pikemen and 5 Syrian heavy archers. You want to go over your build real quick?
Yeah, sure. Well, I was of the same sort of opinion, bringing Athens, like, their cav is decidedly average to begin with, and then going up against factions like Armenia, I was like, there's no real point. I mean, I couldn't bring myself to bring none like Indy, so I've got 2 Hippeus Lancers in the back, but yeah, my core is hoplites. I've got 2 picked hoplites. I believe I've got 2 mercenary veteran and then 4 normal. Then I've got 4 archers and 3 cretans.
You brought 7 archers?
I did.
You spammer, you. That is insane.
I know.
And that's kind of what this patch has done, honestly. Like, you want to bring a lot of archers. Winning that skirmish fight is a really big deal. So let's press play 3, 2, 1 now. Press play. Yep. And get into it. So, yeah, we got a little bit of an advantage at the start just because of this map. Against cavalry factions, this is actually a pretty big deal, having a hill advantage like the one we have right here. It's not necessarily going to matter because, again, I have no cavalry, so I can't really prevent my opponent from flanking his cavalry around behind me, and that's actually exactly what's going to happen. And when that happens, it was very interesting because I didn't actually notice that his cavalry was behind me for a while. It was really bad on my part, and we'll just talk about that when that occurs. But, yeah, so Armenia, looking at his army setup, just some Persian hoplites as like a holding force so that he can slammer an anvil from behind with these bad boys, the Royal Cataphracts, and some Persian cavalry. And then across from me, yeah, he's got some Noble Blood Cav, bunch of Thurio Spears. Yeah, actually it looks like a core of Thurio Spears, a bunch of Eastern Archers, and then flanking the Noble Blood and the Pontic Royal Cavalry, trying to get behind me. So, first thing I'm going to want to do is move up, establish baseline right here, try to get some skirmishing done. But the line of sight is actually kind of weird on this map. Some of my guys aren't going to have great line of sight because of that cliff, and it's going to make things a little interesting. But again, I have no cavalry, so I cannot deal with these guys at all. I just have to turn some of my spears and hope that he doesn't destroy me.
Yep, and that's essentially what I'm going to be doing on my side as well. So obviously, Yanka Doodle playing as Armenia here is going to do the same thing, pushing his cav up nice and high. So it is, I mean, I'm going to keep my cav nice and close towards my center, just as basically a precautionary. If he is going to, make some charges, they can counter-charge or intercept them or whatever, but I am going to have to turn hoplites around and just guard my rear this whole battle. But I felt like it was a mistake that they gave us this sort of Knoll-y hill thing in the middle here, because I felt like they had, they could have gotten up on top of there, but they sort of didn't, so we do claim this, I think, and I think it does help, at least to some degree.
Oh, it's going to help a lot, because these Thurio Spears can't really make their presence felt very well. They don't really have line of sight to throw their jabs, and they can't take it from us. So when the cavalry fights actually start, it makes it very hard for them to get into melee combat and actually win a fight, because we'll get downhill charges, and as you guys know, spear versus spear fights just take forever on this patch, so you can't really just take the hill from us quickly at all.
No, and I bring over 3 of my archers here just to help in the skirmish fight, because all I'm doing is pulling away from Armenia basically. I'm not even looking to engage him at the moment, so I'm just pulling away, trying to help India out a bit with Pontus here. So I've got 3 of my archers targeting the Sterios, and they have actually done some damage. We've got them down almost 50 men already, so that's pretty cool. But yeah, most of my role in this battle basically is to support Indy. I think I don't do a lot of aggressive stuff myself. Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard for me right now because they sent a bunch of cavalry to me, And I was really happy at this point that I brought out a bunch of spears because they were microing everywhere trying to get their Persian cavalry, get their cataphracts into my lines. And I just quickly started shifting my shield bearers around. And you've already seen I've made a couple of micro mistakes. I lost one auxiliary Syrian archer for not much. He got a rear charge off with Persian cavalry. But all these spears are going to make it really hard for him to get to my archers. And keeping those alive is really, really important for me. If they can stay on this knoll and fire into the melee combat, they're going to get a ton of kills. But if they die to all his cavalry, I'm going to lose the one advantage that I have, really. So yeah. I'm just trying to spread my spears out, make sure that those archers don't die, because if I keep them alive, I'm going to have a really good chance of winning.
Yeah, and I believe that actually them taking every single one of their cav units around our rear is actually a mistake, because kind of like the previous game we recorded is that if you put all your cav in one area, we only have to worry about them in one area.
Yeah.
So you can see I actually sent one cavalry unit out our front into their rear, and they've got nothing to counter it. It's going through all of Pontus's archers. I've routed 3 units already at least, and they're into the 4th unit there. They're just killing unit after unit because they've got nothing to counter it anymore, you know, like. So in this situation, I would prefer to have my cav in more of a full-on sort of half-circle arc around them rather than everything just sort of sitting at the back. So yeah, I believe that was a mistake. Just, yeah, a little bit over-committed with their cavalry.
They absolutely did. And that Hippeus Lancer is going to make them pay. They're already up to 350 kills. It's just doing a ridiculous amount of damage.
Yeah.
Over on the rear of my lines, I'm still having trouble. Like, they're pulling mercenary Cappadocian cav around. I've actually done a pretty good job of keeping my shield bearers in the right places to tie down these cav, and they really are having trouble finding holes to exploit. And they still haven't gotten to most of my archers. You can see they're still right here. I noticed that he was going to finally start breaking through. The shield bearer is going to tie down so much of this cav, but some of these units are going to be able to break through, so gotta pull this pike back, make sure that nothing gets to them. But
yeah, and this was when our Skype conversation was incredibly important, because Indy was calling me to come help him. Like, you can see my general here coming over and helping out, so I'm trying to help him and look in my own lines, and then Indy's doing the same. And so that was just having that instant communication between us was really important, so he could warn me when cavalry units were coming into my rear and vice versa.
Yeah, like you said, communication was super important in this battle, because we had to present a line of hoplites in the back that prevented all of our archers. Because literally, one unit of cav that slipped through probably could have taken out, I don't know, 2,000, 3,000 talents worth of archers, and that would have just been the game right there, because we would have had nothing to kill their infantry effectively with. Because shield bearers, they're great in melee, sure, and they last a while, but if they have nothing to, like, that's skirmishing the opponent down while they're fighting, or I have nothing to flank around with, like, again, I'm not going to be able to win that melee combat very easily. But you can see the impact these archers are making. Like, they're just shooting into this blob of cavalry and just doing a ridiculous amount of damage.
Yeah, it's good. But I think we have mentioned it in previous videos before, that in this new patch, cav seems to be really weird in terms of its sort of stickiness. Like, you can see there's a Persian cav in the middle here. Their banners right by my hoplites. There's some down in my general. There's some down in that first line of picked hoplites. But the main ones are in Indy's bloody archers all the way up here. Like, it was so hard to tell at some point where the cav actually was and where you should have your guys. So that was a struggle at some points, but you know, we got through.
Yeah, and they're actually not able to make... I mean, they have 85 kills, but they weren't able to make the impact they wanted there because they were already hurt because of our hoplites. And yeah, you're right. Like, this Grassy Knoll has been such a boon for us because it gives our archers a ridiculously good firing angle to shoot in on this cavalry. And like, they can actually shoot over the tops of our own guys without hitting them. And just the amount of time they've been given to shoot in and kill his cavalry has really helped us a lot. But this game isn't quite over yet. I mean, the balance bar is super in our favor, and actually, looking at how much you have left, it probably could be considered over. But Pontus still has some Thurio spears. He still has some cav units, and he's actually going to kill my general here. It looks like my shield bearers are completely surrounded. But he realized, like, yeah, those are shield bearers. Like, we really can't keep our cav in there too long against them, because that's going to be a real issue.
Yeah, and on my side, Armenia has, like, all of his infantry left, including, well, I've killed most of his archers with my counter-skirmishing, but, like, his infantry is Persian hoplites going up against my mercenary veteran and just normal hoplites. So even if I didn't have any cavalry or archers to support, I think I probably would have won my side just in that one-on-one engagement. although it would have gone for hours.
Yeah. Like, I think if you're going to be Armenia versus hoplite factions, or any faction that can bring a ton of really heavily armored spears, I think you have to go with super heavy skirmishers and just not really very many melee units at all. Because even the Cartly Axeman wouldn't have been able to cut through all your hoplites. Like, he would have had such a hard time dealing with that. So I think you would have to go ridiculous amount of skirmishers. But again, like, while Armenia and Parthia are some of the best factions, if not the best factions in the game, against Athens and against Sparta, they can struggle pretty mightily if that hoplite player is good, because you face your pikes, you face your hoplites in multiple directions, the high armor kicks in, skirmishers have a hard time killing a lot of them, and by the time you run out of ammo, you really don't have enough all the time to actually finish them off.
Yep, exactly. Oh, Indy's slacking again.
Yep, 50 bomb getting more kills than me again. I suck, man. No, this is not going to be a build you see very often with the Seleucids at all. Like, no cavalry. I think the majority of people that bring Seleucids are going to be bringing Hellenic cataphracts, and that would normally make a lot of sense. But this wasn't a battle that I felt like I could win a cavalry fight very easily against Armenia and Pontus, and I wanted to focus on bringing a ton of spears and just presenting like an impenetrable line that his cav just couldn't get to my archers. And I mean, it worked pretty well. And I must say that the high armor of the Syrian heavy archers was also a big deal, because the few cav units that did get through, they were able to survive against them, and we were able to clean them up before they did too much damage.
Yeah, that's probably where my archers actually slack. Like the normal, just generic archers, like they, as soon as anything touches them, they die en route instantly. Like Cretans obviously are a bit better. They got 45 armor, I think it is. So they survive a little bit better, and that's where high tier archers are pretty important and pretty
useful.
Can't think of my words. Thank you, useful.
Is that the word you were looking for?
Yeah, that'll do.
Sure. I don't even know what I was gonna say, but sure. Yeah, but if you get 100 kills with a regular generic archer unit, like, that is so cost effective. Like, they've done their killing like 3 times over. They've absolutely made their cost worthwhile. And then the Hippeus Lancers, 527 kills. I'm not sure I've ever seen that on a Hippeus before. Yeah. Especially in this patch where they're not as good. Like, they simply are not as good. They don't have trample anymore. So that's pretty impressive.
It only costs 1,000 though. So I mean, yeah, as I said at the start, like, I certainly wouldn't bring them and try and win a cav fight. That's just foolish. That's kidding yourself. But they are still, you know, a useful
527 kills, so useless.
A useful unit to have on the battlefield, and those kills are like basically entirely on the archers. I think I killed like all 6 of his archer units just with that one cav. So good times, man. That made me so happy. I was just like, they're not gonna see it. They're not gonna see it. Yay!
And I think the point you brought up about keeping some of your cavalry near your lines is a really important thing. And if Caesar had done that, I think it might have been a different battle, because. And I've made that mistake before too. I'm like flanking my cavalry. I'm like, yeah, they're in a really great position, but when you really are dominating someone is when you're able to send in the cavalry and infantry from many different directions. If you hold on to, say, 2 cav units in your back lines, then he could have probably sent them in at my archers, or like had another opening to actually get in there. But when you have all the cavalry at the back, I just present that one line in the back, and he can't get through. So
yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, I think they did do a really good job of microing their cav, but yeah, just the fact that it was only from that one sort of general direction meant we had less to worry about. If we'd been worrying about cav from literally all the angles around us, that micro and now like slow hoplites probably couldn't have covered the distance quite as well. But yeah, because it was just sort of back and forth and little movements at the back, it was a lot easier for us, but they still did a good job, of course.
I do think they did a good job. Just getting through all those spears is so hard when you bring cavalry factions. So, hope you guys enjoyed that. And again, going to be bringing you some more multiplayer content soon. And I'll talk to you all later. Indy Pride, signing out.